Joining us now is retired Major General David Fraser, our CTV military analyst and former commander of NATO forces in southern Afghanistan. General, thank you as always for joining us.
Roger, good to be with you.
You're probably going to tell me it wasn't surprising, but the IDF's intelligence chief stepping down, was that expected?
I don't think one of us was surprised. I think the only thing that would be of interest is why now and not earlier. But in fact, there's been an awful lot of pressure on the IDF and on the Prime Minister of Israel for the 7th of October, the killing of the international humanitarian aides, the atrocities that have happened in the West Bank, and also the prosecution of the operations in Gaza. So not surprising, there will be more people resigning. Ultimately, the Prime Minister is going to have to answer some questions.
Does this show cracks in the unity of Israeli leaders?
Well, I think it's probably a bit of a consequence of the internal strife that's going on inside of Israel, the external pressure the international community's been putting on Israel, the fact that the hostages themselves have not been released. There is no progress between the negotiations between Hamas and Israel. You've got Qatar now that is reassessing its role in the negotiations. So I think what we're seeing here is an awful lot of pressure at the top, and heads are starting now to roll.
And can we expect more resignations, retirements, as they're calling this one?
We will see more resignations in the military, and I think we will also probably see some political resignations as a result of this entire operation. So more to follow.
So how does this affect then what's happening in Gaza itself?
Well, Roger, in the short term, it's not going to affect anything. It's a more of a reconciling of the accounts of how this thing all started, how poorly the operations have been going, to take some of the pressure off of the Israeli Defense Force and perhaps to an extent the Israeli political leadership. But it's not going to change what happens in Rafah. It's not going to change what happens with the negotiations with Hamas. Operations will continue to go on until such time as the Prime Minister thinks Hamas is being, quote unquote, destroyed or attrited to where he can say, we're going to stop.
Should we take anything from the fact Israel's opened up another border point in the north to get aid in? Is that enough?
Well, I think it's good news for the Gazans. It's not enough. There's so much that has to be put in there now. It used to be hundreds of trucks going across the transfer points every day before the war. And now we're not even reading that over a week. So they can't open up enough transfer points for the Gaza. But it is good news. And we'll have to see how much aid goes in there. But, we've got a feel for the Gazans in there who are starving to death. Absolutely.
Now, bigger picture, it appears Israel and Iran are stepping back. But the U.S. military now saying they destroyed a rocket launcher in Iraq that was aiming towards a U.S. base. Is there concern that this could spread that way towards Iraq and other places?
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen that this war does not stay in the confines of Gaza. It's spread out to, we've got the Houthis, you've got Hezbollah up in the north, you've got what's going on in the West Bank. And the most concerning thing was the exchange of deadly effects by both Iran and Israel. The good news is both leaders on both countries have pulled back, but anything could reignite this and make this into a much bigger war. Nobody wants that. And quite frankly, even Iran doesn't want that.
Okay. General, thank you as always for your insight.
Roger, thank you.
It's retired Major General David Fraser, our CTV military analyst and former commander of NATO forces in southern Afghanistan.